Hello and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Thank you for joining me tonight with my special guest, Trina Phoenix. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me. So good to see you, Robert. Much love, Soul Tribe, and everybody who comes and listens and is with us. So much appreciate for all of you being here, and thank you, Robert, for having me.
Oh, it's always great to have you on. And tonight, what are we going to be looking into tonight?
Tonight I thought we would go over a definition of race. And, we've got so much with the division and the racism, and, this is my race is better than your race. And, all of these concepts about race that we've been given. And when I read this one, I thought it was really beautiful, and it's more in resonance with my belief system because when I was finally told that I could start studying the Bible, the Lord, when I read about Adam and Eve, and I was thinking about it as two people, Adam and Eve. I thought about it as one person and one man, one woman.
Mhm.
And they were like, you need to understand, Adam is a race. It's
Mhm.
not a person, it's a race. And I was like, whoa, mind blown. I'd never conceptualized it that way, but it made a lot of sense. And then when I started reading more about the different man in the Bible, I was like, okay, different races. And that would make sense because we have different races on the planet of visible. We can see the different races between us on the planet. But these are races of creation, races of beings in different times, and all different species within that race were created at that time. So
Mhm.
races dictate creations of ages of within humanity. So I wanted to
Mhm.
read this to y'all and see what you think about it. So here we go. Race is a stage of human evolution. There are 7 races in total, each of which has 7 subraces. Each race develops a particular side or quality of man, densifying or rarefying the matter of the body. Since humanity, representing the appropriate race, develops simultaneously on all 7 globes of the earth, all 7 globes of the earth, I would pay attention to that because there's a lot of deep esoteric truth in that phrase. Moving from one world to another, the 4th round will finish with the 7th race. People in the first 2 races, as well as in the first half of the 3rd, did not have physical bodies. And this was what I saw in Lemuria. We were solidifying, but we still had not fully formed our material bodies. The bodies were of etherical matter, and these people were genderless beings, not endowed with reason and never dying, for they did not have flesh. They had existed for 300 million years. 18 million years ago, in the middle of the 3rd race, i.e., the Lemurians, the separation of the sexes was beginning and took place. The people began to conceive their progeny. Humanity received dense physical bodies through this developmental stage, and we began more to reflect upon the supreme mind. The 4th race, the Atlanteans. They came into being approximately 4 to 5 million years ago, but only 3 subraces of the Atlanteans evolved on the continent of Atlantis, while the remaining 4 were in Egypt, Asia, and Europe. The current 5th race is known as the Aryan. It originated about 1 million years ago in India. Its people are now to be found on each existing continent, and on all its 7 subraces, they have already finished being formed. Nevertheless, the 3rd and 4th races are still represented in the earth too. Interesting. The formation of the future races does not require the millions of years that were needed by the previous races, and therefore it may be said that the sixth and the seventh races will exist and develop simultaneously. Thus, since the beginning of the 20th century, in each country there have appeared the best and most spiritual and moral people who are now generating the level of the sixth race. They are no different from the others in their outward appearance, but they have loving hearts, strong energy, and often have abilities and talents. And in this present day, the seeds of the seventh race are already showing themselves. At the end of this race, many things that are now considered miraculous will become common. I have been told that since I was 3 years old. And the attenuation of the human body, as well as the matter of the planet, will reach the point prescribed by the evolution for this round and its last race. The farther one looks back onto humanity's past, the more one can see of its future. For the past contains a projection of the future. Thus, the first races were ethereal, and the first shall be the last, and the last shall be the first. Interesting. So the races were ethereal in the beginning, and the matter slowly became solid. The last races will be the same, but this time the matter will gradually rarefy. The end and the beginning are similar in form, but distinct in their expression. While the beginning was characterized by the absence of self-consciousness, the end is the pinnacle of self-awareness. The middle of the fourth round, the middle of the fourth race, marks the lowest point for the fall into matter, the densification of the human body, and the development of intelligence. The fifth race was on an ascending arc. Therefore, gradually the spiritual must achieve an ever-increasing preponderance over the material and the heart over the intellect, so that by the end of the seventh race, matter is completely subordinate to spirit, to the extent accessible to the fourth round of evolution. Humanity currently lives in a period of great responsibility. The time of the change of the races is upon us. The process is always accompanied by an extremely powerful influence of the cosmic fire, leading to a change in the inclination of the Earth's axis and magnetic poles, attended also by natural disasters and climate change. Additionally, humanity is reaping what it has sown over this period of development. As the time of the change of the races approaches, information is being imparted to the world within permissible limits through the messengers of light, with the aim of warning humanity of the forthcoming dramatic and earth-shaking changes. Thus, Helena Blavatsky works and the Mahatma's letters, along with the other ancient writings, point out that during the change of the races, such continents as America and Europe are to be shaken by powerful earthquakes, and much will submerge into the sea. Edgar Cayce, too, had foresaw the scenario for the end of the 20th century. However, the development and the collective will of humanity enabled the hierarchy of light to prevent so much of the devastating cataclysms that were in our future. But even as they have the right to interfere in such cases, only up to 50%. Otherwise, humanity will learn nothing. The other half of efforts for salvation are to be made by the earth dwellers themselves. It's ultimately up to us. America and Europe may have a most beautiful future. Everything will depend on the people there who must keep pace with evolution, and that will require a revival of spirituality. Also, it should be borne in mind that books, films, and other works of art which proclaim yet another end of the world scenario and various cataclysms promote through human will. Thought forms take on enormous power. These energies may explode in space, resulting in huge disasters. So North America finds itself on the subtle plane, a rather unstable condition, since its population in the physical world is constantly destroying its own cities and the entire continent. By the thought forms contained, for example, in its entertainment films, which are distributed worldwide. It requires tremendous effort on a part of all the colleagues of the Great Brotherhood to prevent such thoughts and the destruction they depict from coming true in this reality. But it is also within the power of any conscious citizen to control the reality. But it is also within the power of any conscious citizen of any country if someone can erect a giant destructive structure simply through their thoughts, then by the same token, a light bearing individual is able to produce creative and positive currents. For example, by prayerful appeals to the forces of light, and also creating, manifesting your own vision. See the future, make it real, fake it till you make it. This is how we get it done. And that effort will send a transfiguring fire, and it will descend into the lower spheres and mitigate the destructive influences of the negative formations. Therefore, much of where we will sit is due to what we feel and what we think about our very reality. And in actuality, the feeling is the prayer. So what we feel about, we will bring about. So fear not. And the manner of this change of the races, it will actually definitely take place. But how it ends up is depending on all of us. So be the change you want to see. Focus on a good world for all of us. And our thoughts and our manifestations will lessen the changes of the great devolution, devolution derby we are now witnessing. And that's it.
Wow, that was really good. I have to add to this because, this is part of one of the things I was studying this week and yesterday's show, believe it or not. I did Padre Pio, and I'll get to that in a second.
Yes,
But
I was listening to that. I love the story of Padre Pio. My sister lived in Italy, and she used to go there where they would carry the casket through their town in Avola. Every year they still do it. Yeah.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
they still do. They still celebrate Padre Pio. Yes. It's a
Wow.
very big day in Italy, actually.
Wow.
Yes.
Did not know
Yes.
that. Did not
Yeah.
know that. But I kind of
Really
gave
baby
this.
saints.
but the thing I was researching too when you were talking about races was a kind of similar. It said that when we came here long ago, we were kind of incorporeal, and then
Yes.
as we developed, we decided that in order to make changes, we had to become physical, but we weren't quite physical for a while, but we could
Yes.
still affect our environment to see those changes. Because if you can't physically move things around or change anything, then we weren't happy. So then we became even more physical, to the point of now we can mix this with that, and we can see the changes. We could carve a stone, or build a bridge, or a house, or paint a beautiful picture, kind of thing.
It's what they
And
show me. It's like first we brought the etherical body down into the physical plane, but we're spirit. So
Yeah.
the spirit and the matter had to blend, and that was the creation of soul. So we took on soul, which meant we took on the elemental. And when we
Mhm.
took on the elemental, we started to get denser and denser and form the human flesh. And that
Mhm.
was being clothed. And they
Mhm.
say that when we were clothed because of the fall. We fell because of sin. Moon, moon matrix, Saturn, moon matrix, time
Mhm.
construct, space time construct, building the soul, building the construct that we would incarnate our spirit to exist in. It took
Mhm.
time to make all those changes and create us out of the soil and then bring in the consciousness, form the flesh, and
Mhm.
create what we are today. It's been a long process of a
Yeah.
beautiful evolution.
And you were talking about the downfall, and it kind of
Mhm.
went something on that order, but it said that it was like, okay, so we got to a point where we could create, yet nothing would affect us. And somehow our downfall was is that we created an us who could be affected ourselves, so we could experience the things that we were trying. So like, hey, we're gonna do this, and how does it affect me? Because everything we were affecting was the world around us, and none of it, could affect us. We were like in this protective bubble, even though we could manifest and do things. And so we gave that up, and now of course we can get sick, and we could break a leg, and we could experience all this stuff was just so we could experience, so we
I
could
think so. I think that's the best definition of God, Robert,
mm,
is creation was creating so much and it wanted to know itself. So
mhm.
we're a part of that creative force expressing and learning about life through life as
Yeah,
part of creation. So
yeah.
that's the perfect explanation to me of God is everything and it created us so it could experience its own creation. And we're all kind of asking the same question when it boils down to it. Who am I?
Yeah.
Where did I come from? What is all of this? It's the
Mhm.
common theme, we're all asking. And it's so funny because in all actuality, when you get to the highest levels of it, we're all the same being and we're all asking the same question. And when we separate, it's the only time we get to see what we even are. So
Yeah, yeah.
I love looking at you and seeing another image of creation that I get to interact with and talk with and share emotions with and consciousness with. So I'm
Mhm.
so grateful that we have from the one, the many, because one is the loneliest number.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. I
yeah.
agree. Very well said. Thank you for sharing that with us. I mean,
You're
that means
welcome.
so much to me too, especially after, like I said, my studies was leading me on that path. And now you just kind of summed it up with the different, and it's just like that. You described the different levels we went through. And I was thinking, oh, it might have been a little faster, but I think you're right. It's just the different stages, like a butterfly. We're a butterfly.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and what
Yeah.
happens with a butterfly? Starts out as the little larva, walks around, it eats the branches, it makes itself, it turns into a butterfly. And what
And
happens
then
when the
it goes
butterfly
in,
goes in?
and then
Yes,
it transforms, and then it gets its wings.
yes,
Yes.
yeah, that's us. That's us. That is the simple explanation. I love it. I love it. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for being on tonight. This was great.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and listening.
Love
I
you
mean,
all.
yes, it's been wonderful. Thanks for all your wonderful comments. And if you want to add to this, comment below and share with everybody your experiences, your thoughts. We're here to share. That's what it's all
Yeah,
about.
we learn from each other. We can only experience the fullness of creation with all of our different views of it.
And that's right. And with that, remember, go out, do something nice, wave to your neighbor, and do so. Just be, enjoy. Like you
Yeah,
said, looking at somebody else is like looking at yourself, or looking
yeah.
at another being who's just like you, no
Another
matter what color.
reflection of God. Yeah,
We're a reflection of God. That's it. That was what it is.
yeah.
So go out and
Reflection of
be the frequency you want to
you.
receive, everyone. Love you all. Peace.